First of all, I want to introduce myself as teacher of English, going to teach all of you. Today, I am going to introduce myself, Sri Duryodhan, retired ex-principal of GPR College, Kuntara, district Sambalpur, state Odisha. Today, I am going to teach you a good poem and interesting poem called Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening by an American poet, Robert Frost. Robert Frost is one of the most popular and critically acclaimed American poets. He is highly regarded for his realistic depiction of rural life and his command of American colloquial speech. His poetry reveals a keen interest in the varying beauties of nature and the apparently small but deeply meaningful joys and sorrows of ordinary men and women. Warm up. Do you know his poems was a great favorite of Jawaharlal Nehru? Perhaps this poem reminded him of his responsibilities. On the surface, this is a simple poem. The speaker stops his horse by some woods on a snowy evening. He takes in the lovely scene in near silence, is tempted to stay longer, but acknowledges the pull of obligation and the considerable distance yet to be travelled before he can rest for the night. But at the deeper level, the journey through the woods is suggestive of journey through life itself. The speaker stops for a brief time to meditate and realizes that he needs to continue his journey. The famous phrase, "and miles to go before I sleep," not only refers to the physical distance of the trip but also the long life ahead of him. Read the poem and feel how inspiring it is. Text. Whose woods these are, I think I know. His house is in the village, though he will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. That means here in this stanza, the poet Robert Frost has gone to a deep dense forest covered with snow because it was bitter, cold and winter season. He says that he does not know the honor of the woods. He also says that the house of the owner of the woods and the owner of the house in the village, though he will not see him stopping there. That means as the owner of the house was living in the village, how can he see the poet stopping in the snowy evening on the road? So anyhow, the woods are filled up with snow. He says that his little horse must think it queer to stop without a farmhouse near between the woods and frozen lake, the darkest evening of the year. That means his little horse does not mean that the horse was little in size. Little means dear and endearment. That means the author was loving his lovely horse very much. And the poet thinks that his lovely horse must it was strange how he stopped without a farmhouse near. That means, in other words, the speaker or the poet wants to know that and says that it is a wonder, it is a marvel how the horse, the lovely horse, the little horse, stopped without a farmhouse near it. Anyhow, the woods were frozen and the lake was also frozen, and it was the darkest evening of the year. He gives his harness bell a shake to ask if there is some mistake. The only other sounds the sweep of easy wind and dawny flag. That means the poet wants to say that he gave his little harness bells a shake. That means the bell of the horse shook by the horse, and the horse wanted to know if there was some mistake. That is why he stopped there. There was no other sound than the sweeping sound of the wind, which was blowing very gently and smoothly. Dawning, that means small pieces of snow was falling from the clouds of the sky. The woods are lovely dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. That means the last stanza of the poem is very, very important. And this line was very favorite on the part of Jawaharlal Nehru, the first Prime Minister of Free India. The woods are lovely, dark and deep. That means the forest was very beautiful, dark, deep and dense. When the poet reached on the middle of the road, he reminded of his own responsibility at home. He had promised to keep, and he really kept his promise. And he reminded of his responsibilities and duties at home. And he says that miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. That means physically he has to come back home, and he has to perform and finish all his duties and responsibilities of his home. Therefore, the poet returned home in time. Okay? Thank you. Thanking you all.